Hi everyone, welcome back to yet another YouTube video on this fine Sunday. We have this little group on Instagram that I basically asked what sort of YouTube content do you guys want to see from me? And a lot of the content ideas, we had a lot of day in the lives, a lot of basic makeup series. I think we'll get around to all of that. But a lot of it was big sister advice, Auntie Adele advice. So instead of giving you Auntie Adele advice, I'm going to talk about the things that I've learned in my 20s that I wish I knew earlier, that I'm definitely taking into my 30s with me. I think that this is only learned through life experience, but I wish someone had told me a lot of these things and I actually digested a lot of this information rather than just hearing it through one ear and out the other, because I have heard some of these things and I didn't realize how important it was until I experienced it myself and I was like, oh my God, that person was right. Why didn't I listen? I am going to just do a little get ready with me at the same time because I need to piece myself together slowly but surely. Hence why we're in the makeup room. Straight off the bat, I think the very first thing that I have learned over time in my 20s is that peace is way more addictive than chaos. This is something that engulfs every aspect of my life. Whether we're talking about work, whether we're talking about friendships, whether we're talking about relationships, like romantic relationships, whether we're talking about the relationships that we have with our family, peace is way more addictive than chaos. And what do I mean by that? Your life isn't going to be peaceful 24/7. You're going to find that you have adversity with people. You'll find that you might struggle to bond with some people. You'll find that you will have disagreeing opinions. But they're exactly that. They're opinions and people are allowed to disagree with them. It doesn't mean that you have to engulf yourself in those opinions and run with it. People are who they are. They don't change at the core. And I truly, truly, truly believe that. And engulfing yourself in that level of chaos at a point of proving your opinion due to stubbornness sometimes isn't worth it. Sometimes it's worth just retracting, accepting that you're not going to win this particular argument, taking a step back and choosing peace over that level of chaos. Because no matter how many times you think that you are right and someone's behavior is unacceptable, or someone is being rude, or someone has said something that you don't agree with, or whatever it is, you cannot control how they think, how they act, how they choose to express their opinions. What you can control is your own behavior, taking a step back and saying, nope, not doing this, nodding politely, walking away from the situation. And that is so, so important. On that note, I think that when we talk about relationships, romantic relationships, or if you're in the dating scene and you're sussing the vibe out of someone that you've been on a couple of dates with, I still believe peace is way more addictive than chaos. Being alone is better than feeling lonely with someone. And I experienced that firsthand. I think that when you're with someone and you feel alone, that is the worst feeling in the universe. You're better off being alone, enjoying your company, rather than feeling like you're supposed to have something that you don't have. And usually what happens when that feeling arises is that a lot of the time, they're not the right fit for you. Because the person that you're with, one, should never make you feel alone. It should be a partnership. And two, you should have done the work on yourself to feel validated within yourself to make sure that you've made the right decision. All the advice that I'm going to give you today that I've learned in my 20s that I'm going to lead into my 30s, it's really advice sometimes that overlaps with each other. So bear with me. This is Maybelline's Super Lock, by the way. Now, the next bit of advice is something that I have learned, I'm going to say, in the past year. I was learning it in the background and I really feel like it slapped me in the face this year. And that is, not everyone deserves access to you. We're talking about friends and family. We're talking about people pleasing at the core. I am the worst person. This is an intention that I'm actively working on this year in 2026. on how to not people please and how to please myself, because I'm a giver. I will run to the hills for my friends and family. I will die for them. You need a kidney? I'll give you a kidney. What do you need? Do you need me to take your dog for a walk? Do you need me to dog sit? Do you need me to make you a meal? Do you need, like, I feel like I am at best of use when I'm doing things for other people. And that's an innate behavior that I've learned as a child. Where there are many pros with that behavior, there are many, many, many cons. I might talk a lot of gaga online, but realistically, I give everything to everybody else and I never reserve anything for myself, because I am so busy seeking validation from people externally and people pleasing and making sure everyone around me is fine, but I don't make sure that I'm fine in myself. I have learned this year that people don't deserve access to you. Looping back to that original thought, obviously, I went through a very, very big life change this year. And because people have had somewhat a relationship with you and know you, not deeply, but just know you, they somehow thought that they had access to that information. I didn't get it right. Sometimes I gave people that access. They ran with it. They never checked in. They never responded. They grabbed their little piece of gossip and poof, they were gone. There was nothing to be heard of them. And on the other end, because that was occurring to me, I kept everything really close to my chest. And there were only a select few people that really knew what was happening and what was going on. I found that people were getting extremely offended when I wasn't opening up to them about the level of betrayal that I had been through. I had to keep reminding myself that they don't deserve access. No one deserves access. You don't owe anything to anyone. It's a lesson that I'm still learning to this day. Just because I've had something happen to me and we know of each other and we've maybe gotten a coffee once in a while, it doesn't mean that you deserve that information. Even my family, just because we're bloodbound, doesn't mean that you deserve access to my life. Doesn't mean that you deserve an explanation as to why I'm doing certain things. And I'm not just talking about my traumatic relationship that I went through. No one deserves anything from you. You actually owe it to yourself to protect your own peace. And sometimes protecting your own peace comes with zipping your mouth, sitting with that information, and regulating your own nervous system. Someone external simply cannot regulate your nervous system for you. You have to do it yourself. You have to put in the work to regulate your own nervous system. You have to put in the work to make yourself better. To be able to heal from trauma. People can't heal your grief. I mean, if they could, I would try and heal all my friends and family from any hurt, but unfortunately, it's work that you have to do yourself. You get therapy, you try and work on yourself through therapy, through someone that's unbiased and able to give you advice without a biased nature, but you need to do the work. What tends to happen when we give so much to others is that what I have learned is that I'm trying to seek external validation. External validation is like that little dopamine hit that smacks you in the face. It's that little dopamine like, oh, they agree with me. You have a problem with a friend. Let's say it's some petty little problem like, oh, she kissed my ex-boyfriend, for instance. I'm so angry at her. She kissed my ex-boyfriend. So you go and speak to 5 other women about this that are in your circle or outside of your circle or whatever it is. The only reason that you are talking to them is to seek external validation. They agree with you that person's a cow because she kissed your ex-boyfriend. Instead, what you could be doing is looking in yourself and saying, why is that a trigger for me? Why does that affect me so much? What is the root of these emotions that I'm experiencing and feeling? Maybe you speak about it with a therapist and you try and digest that. Maybe you don't. Maybe you sit there in your journal and you try and really work it out. Doing the work on yourself will calm your nervous system, and it won't be that immediate dopamine hit, but you'll have this level of like tranquility that comes across your body because you have just healed from a particular trigger. Why are you so triggered that that person kissed your ex-boyfriend? Why? I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying, why are you so triggered? Doing the work on yourself is so much more important than seeking that external validation from people. Don't get me wrong. Something pisses you off, you need to talk about it, you need to get off your chest, feel free to do so. But a lot of the time, we're not doing the work on ourselves. So we don't have those triggers 24/7. Very long-winded access there. On that note, the next thing that I've learned in my 20s, and a lot of people comment on this trait that I actually have, and it's confidence. I do not believe confidence is loud. I believe that confidence is calm. And what I mean by that, if you are a confident person and you're not seeking that external validation, right? I'm not talking about cockiness. I'm not talking about berating that you're the best person in the universe. I'm talking about genuine confidence. You feel like you could go up to someone, randomly start speaking to them because you are confident in yourself that you're going to be a kind, generous person. That is sometimes viewed as being a loud extrovert, when really it's just a level of tranquility and calm that comes across the body because you have done the internal work, you have regulated yourself, and you validate yourself. Therefore, you have a calm approach in life, calm yet confident. Because what you'll find is that a lot of people that are quiet, and I'm not talking about just being quiet because you enjoy your own silence. You can be confidently quiet. But those that are really quiet, that might struggle with some social anxiety, it's generally because they haven't done the work on themselves to validate their own feelings, and they care about external validation. I think that's something really important to know. If you haven't done the work on yourself and you care so much about what others think, and it's a very, very, very difficult thing to do. It's not an easy thing to do. It's difficult to sit there with your emotions. It's difficult to break down situations that you have with other people and understand why you're getting triggered. It's difficult to actually digest that. It's difficult to make that appointment with your therapist, to talk to your therapist about something that maybe you think that they think it's stupid to talk about. But at the end of the day, you're doing the work. It's difficult. It's not easy. If it was easy, everyone would get therapy. Everyone would be confident. Everyone would be kindly confident. There is a massive difference between being kindly confident and cocky. And that's really important to know. Don't get me wrong, it's fun to have a laugh now and then, but sometimes I just believe if someone is cocky, they're insecure. It's as simple as that. They are ridiculously insecure, and they have to seek that external validation from someone on the outside. If someone is confident, but they're kind, they've done the work, dolls. They've done the work. My next piece of advice that I have deeply, deeply learned in my 20s is that your intuition is always right. Your intuition is always right. You need to listen to your gut. You have a fleeting thought in your head, you need to listen to your gut. But I can honestly say I did not listen to my gut because I was probably too scared of being alone, and the universe will do its thing and bring it to light. It will take shape, it will develop, and no matter if it's 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years into the relationship that you have with that person, the universe has ways of showing you who they are and bringing it to light, bringing that gut feeling to light. I'm not just talking about romantic relationships, I'm talking about friendships, I'm talking about relationships that you might have with family. If you have a bad gut instinct about a person, or you disagree with something and then you suddenly get that pang of like, oof, don't like that, it's usually 9 times out of 10 correct. We spoke about this little piece of advice and I've written it down as its own point, but triggers are invitations to heal. And that is something that I truly believe in. If you're getting triggered by something, it's an invitation for you to work on that something. Why are you feeling triggered by that? Break that down, get some Get some therapy on it, talk to someone about it, because it is an invitation to heal. It's not an invitation to stew and cycle out that trigger time and time again, because you will not grow from it. Another thing that I've learned in my 20s that, once again, I cannot control other people's behaviors, is that not everyone claps when you win. Not everyone is going to be there cheering you on when you hit certain goals in life. You need to be your own person and cheer yourself on, because it's just how the cookie crumbles. Unfortunately, we are built in a society where everyone is ridiculously selfish. And I think to a point that you have to be selfish and taking care of yourself, doing the work on yourself. But not many people will clap your wins. Not many people will congratulate you. Not many people will push you forward. It takes a special kind of person and friend that congratulates you for doing something really, really cool or really special, because it takes that person a moment to step out of their own selfishness, recognize that a friend is doing something amazing, and congratulate them for it. A lot of people do not clap that, and that's okay. If you've done the work on yourself, you should be clapping yourself, doll. Leading into my next bit of advice that I've learned is that people will show you who they are within the first couple of minutes of meeting them. And it's really important that if something doesn't sit right with you, allow their actions to guide you through what your relationship with that person can look like. Because if you get a bad gut feeling, or someone doesn't treat you right within the first 15 seconds of knowing them, well, they've just shown you who they are. Furthermore, if they are really, really kind to you and you get to know them, and then their actions don't marry up with their words, they've just shown you who they are, dolls. You don't need to give them a second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 10th chance. They're literally showing you who they are. Run with that so you don't get sucked in, and you can protect your own peace. It's super important. I think this next little piece is like really important in the world that we're living in at the moment, with so much access to social media, so much access to comparison, to people's lives, to what they have, what you want. Your life does not need to look aesthetic to hold meaning. Let me repeat. Your life does not need to look aesthetic to hold meaning. To have a meaningful life, you do not need to have an aesthetic life. That person that is driving down the street in a Range Rover, good on them. Good on them. But it doesn't mean that you need that Range Rover to hold meaning in your life. I say this so often, and I truly, truly mean it. We go into the world naked and we leave naked. We do not take things with us. To hold meaning in your life, it's the relationships that you have with people. It's the first 15-second impression that you have with people. It's your kindness that resonates with people. Maybe it's the fact that you're a funny fuck that resonates with people. Whatever it is, those are the things that hold meaning. It's the relationships that you bear. It's the people that are in your close circle. It's the memories that you make that are held on as stories far after you live. I don't know what my great-grandmother had, didn't have. All I know is that these were her characteristics. This is how she was as a person. This was her favorite meal to make. We don't hear about what they drove, what they wore, what bag they had. All of that stuff is just stuff. And that's coming from a girl that loves fashion, loves things, loves makeup. It is consumption, and we're built in a day and age where like consumption is so prevalent. But it's okay to also recognize that if you want true meaning in your life and you want to bear relationships with people that hold meaning, stuff doesn't matter. This little piece of advice will be for my little baddies that are really, really career driven. It's really important that we know that your job does not define your worth. And I think that's so important to talk about, because what I'm understanding, a lot of my generation and younger recognize that, as a large percentage of people that recognize that. A lot of people in my dad's generation are up. I see it happening so often where they've busted their ass, they've made their job their entire personality. They attach their job to their worth. And what tends to happen is that they retire at a really young age. That's all well and good. They're retiring, then they get severely depressed because they've attached such significance to this job and such a level of worth and their self-worth to a job. When it's suddenly stripped away and taken from you, they don't really know what to do with themselves and how to live life without a 9 to 5 or whatever that job looks like. And it's really interesting because our parents' generation and some people in our generation as well wear burnout like a badge of honor. And I used to do it. It's a learnt behavior from my parents that if you're not grinding, if you're not putting in the work, if you're not exhausted, if you're not struggling to make ends meet, you're not working hard enough. That's not the case. Our generation is very good at finding balance, but in the same respect, our generation has also faltered on what hard work looks like. I think finding balance in your job is always going to be really, really difficult, but it's really important to note that your job doesn't offer self-worth. You have to do the work on yourself to understand what your worth looks like. So when your job is taken away from you, whether you retire, whether you have a work injury, whether, I don't know, you can't work for whatever the reason is, you can still live life. If you are in that corporate landscape and you do love working, but it doesn't hold your worth, one thing that I saw that was quite prevalent, and it takes fucking balls to do, you can change your career path and still be successful. People will laugh behind your back. People will question your decisions. People will question what you're doing at the age that you're doing it. You should be running your life at the pace of what we traditionally think a capitalist society offers us. And it's not necessarily the case. You can pivot as much as possible. You can pivot when you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. You can pivot. And it's okay, because when you pivot, you're trying to find success in the hobbies that you love. You're trying to find success in life. You're trying to explore different avenues, and that makes you far more intelligent and far more fulfilled in life than sometimes sticking to the same pathway until you retire. And it's not to say that this pathway is wrong. It's not. If you love your job, love what you do, you found it off the very first go, congratulations. It's very fucking rare to do. But if that's not the case, it's okay to pivot and work on something else and continue to grow as a human being. We need to grow. We need to experience life. We need to experience adversity in life. We need to experience being uncomfortable with change, because that's where growth happens. They're all the things that I was scribbling down and writing for you guys. I hope that that helped, because I am taking a lot of that information into my 30s and really digesting that and trying to run with it. I'm sure I'm going to learn so much more in my 30s that I'm going to take into my 40s. But I think in this year, especially, one thing that I'm really, really, really going to work on, and I will probably work on for the rest of my life, is not people pleasing, putting boundaries in place, and harvesting relationships that actually are meaningful. On that note, I think we're going to wrap up there because I've been yapping your ear off. If you liked this video and you'd like to see some more, let me know in the comments. I'll be looking at all the other suggestions of content that you guys want to see from me. If you loved it, leave a comment, give me a like, subscribe, do all that jazz, okay? If you want to catch me, shit talk 24/7, TikTok, Instagram, go ham. Maybe you've had different revelations to me in your 20s that you've taken into your 30s, and that's okay. But I hope that somewhat that has helped. And if it hasn't, oh well. Thanks for watching anyway. Okay, bye.